The Linux file system. If that sounds like a bunch of words to you, this video is for you. Maybe you've just escaped the fiery pits of Windows and into the green pastures of Linux, or are just curious at what all of this Linux stuff means. So you might be looking at these files and folders and wondering what the hell is going on. You may have questions like, where is the C drive and why is my OS telling me to run? But worry not, because by the end of this video you'll know about the most important folders that make a Linux system work, and I'll explain it so that even you and your dog can understand it. Now I have one word for you: structure. See, in order to fully understand the Linux file system, you'll need to know the basic structure first. This command here shows me the entire state of the system where every file and every folder is located. Yes, even your copy of Hannah Montana Linux. And although it may look like it, this little slash isn't doing an imitation of the Michael Jackson lean, but instead is known as the root of your file system. Okay, now I'm even more confused. So think of it this way: this is a tree from my garden. Now if I take that tree and just flip it upside down, you'll see that everything stems from the root. You have the main tree, then branches, twigs and leaves, which you can imagine as files. So in the same way, this one folder contains every single other file and folder, and this will basically be the same across every single Linux distro or flavor of Linux. And these individual folders also contain their own files and folders, and we call these directories. Number 1 /bin. Now this directory is not where you throw out your rubbish or your copy of Windows 11, but instead is short for binary. Now what is a binary? Well, a binary is a program which contains the instructions that your computer actually understands. See, when really smart people code software, they use languages that humans can actually understand. However, to a computer, it is like trying to read Chinese. It can't actually read what's going on. So it goes through a process known as compilation. Now I know that's a big word, but all it really is a translator. It takes our human code and translates it to something called machine code, or instructions that your computer can actually process. And the end result is called a binary, or more simply, a program. Okay, but how does this link with the Linux file system, I hear you ask? Well, this directory contains all of your programs that you use on a daily basis. So this command that I ran here is just stored in the bin or binaries directory. Now, if you have a keen eye, you may be wondering, but this says user bin and not bin. You may also see sbin. So many bins. Well, the user bin directory is essentially the same as the bin directory, but it contains programs that you, as a user, will install, like a web browser for example, whereas the bin directory contains the most essential programs needed for your computer to actually run. However, in the modern day, the bin and user bin are basically the same directory, so just know these directories are where your programs are sleeping at night. Number 2 /boot. Now this directory isn't where your boots are stored, so there are no bad smells here, but instead it is an extremely important directory. See, this folder contains the power to start or boot your system. Okay, but why? Well, this directory contains the Linux kernel, or the core of your system, and apparently it is said that Linus Torvalds himself, the creator of the kernel, will appear here to stop you from touching his beloved. So when I run this command, I can see the kernel file chilling over here. Now you might be wondering, what is this weird name, Linux CashOS? This just sounds like gibberish to me. Well, it's actually fairly simple. See, the VM here stands for virtual memory. Now that just means that your computer behaves like it's got more memory than it actually does. And the Z over here isn't Russian propaganda, but instead means the kernel is compressed, or more understandably, squashed down to make the size of the file smaller. So this saves disk space and makes it faster to boot. Lastly, the CashOS part is just what distro or flavor of Linux I'm actually running. Now I want you to imagine this folder like a massive T-Rex. Just don't go anywhere near it, as it's vital to starting your machine. Number 3 home. Now this directory is like your bedroom. There are weird smells, clothes all over the floor, and a desk that hasn't been cleaned for years. So basically this is where you'll spend most of your time. See, the home directory contains all the files and folders for each user on the system. Each user has their own profile with their own settings, but since I don't have any friends, it is just me. Anyway, this folder will contain the directories that you are most familiar with, like your documents, downloads, videos, and much more. It will also contain settings for different programs. Now these config files or setting files are simply for programs that you use on a daily basis. So sometimes you might want to tweak the behavior of a certain program, and those config files are typically found in your home folder /.config. Now you might be wondering, why is there a dot at the start of this folder now? So that just means that your folder is hidden. So when you are browsing your folders, you shouldn't see it, just like magic. And I wish we could do that to Windows. Number 4 /media and /mount. Now whenever you plug in a USB stick or a removable storage device, Linux will typically store your device and its files in the /media folder. So if you are an avid gamer or are looking for that device, it should show up on the left hand side in your file browser. As you can see here, this USB stick is located in the /media directory. Now you will also see /mnt or mount. Now if you are a beginner user, you probably won't use this directory. However, this is typically used when you want to manually add a storage device to your system. Number 5, /root. Now this folder isn't covered in soil or dirt, but you still don't want to touch it. So if regular plebs like you or me live at /home, there must also be a place where the root user lives. Now to understand this folder, you must first know that there are two types of users on Linux. The first is you, the user who has to ask for permission when you want to go outside and play, and the root user or super user who has control over the entire system and can do anything. And the /root folder is where all files and folders relating to the super user are stored. Now don't confuse this with the root of the file system. They are two separate things. So I just want you to remember, you have a bedroom that you and other users need permission to leave. The root user on the other hand has a bedroom too, but also has keys to everyone else's room, whereas the root file system is the whole house itself. Number 6, TMP. This stands for temporary, and you've guessed it, this is where temporary files are stored. So for example, I can create as many files and folders as I want here, and when I restart the system, they'll vanish like they were never there. Number 7, /user. Now this folder is a bit of a mess, but what you need to know is that this is where Linux keeps most programs and data. It contains many things like programs, icons, themes, libraries, documentation, and other boring stuff. Think of it like a big supermarket. If you need something, chances are that you can probably get it from there. Now that was not all of the folders in a Linux system, but I just wanted to introduce you to the main ones that I believe are important when understanding this big bad penguin. And remember, you don't need to know every single thing about Linux to use it. Of course, learning about it helps, but you shouldn't need to be studying an OS to take back control of your system, no matter what the elitists say. So stay curious, use Linux, and I hope now you understand the Linux file system just a little better.